welcome to this month's Salute to Service. And with me today I have Mr. Rick Pethtel. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing well, thank
you. Okay if I call you Rick?
By all means.
Okay. Rick Pethel's a Medina County resident and a United States Marine Corps veteran from the Vietnam War, correct?
Yes, sir.
So tell me, let's start out with a little bit about yourself and where you grew up. Where are you originally from, Rick?
Well, originally from West Virginia, Clarksburg area. Grew up there and moved to Medina County, I'd say when I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, okay, so you really did kind of grow up here.
Yeah, we lived in Lafayette and Medina mostly. Went to Cloverleaf, graduated from Cloverleaf in 1967. And as soon as I graduated, went into the service.
Were you enlisted or drafted or?
I enlisted. I knew, gosh, from when I was very young, I wanted to be a Marine.
Okay.
I know it sounds kind of funny.
No, it doesn't sound funny at all.
You look at their dress blues and you think, now they're the pride of the service, and that's the way I looked at it. And to this day, I'm very, very proud to still be a Marine.
So right out of high school, going into the Marine Corps, Vietnam War, 67's.
Exactly.
18-year-old,
fresh out of high school. What to look forward to, we wasn't sure.
Right. So tell me a little bit about how long between the time you graduated from high school and the time you went off to boot camp?
I was on what they called back then a 120-day delay.
Okay.
And I graduated in June and went into boot camp in August.
So not much time.
Yeah.
Not much time. Where'd you go to boot camp at?
Went to California and then was transferred down to Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Okay.
The Air Wing Division down there. And I loved it down there.
How was Marine Corps boot camp in 1967?
I'll tell you a quick short story. Got out of high school. I was a big guy.
Right.
About 245 pounds or something like that, you know. And went into boot camp for 9 weeks and came out, and of course they sent us home. And I arrived at Cleveland Hopkins Airport and waiting for my wife to pick me up because I had gotten married right out of school.
Before then, okay.
Right out of school. I should have mentioned that. And come June 28th, we'll be married a total of 49 years.
I'll be damned.
It's
our anniversary is the same date.
Really?
Oh
my God. Well, my birthday's the same day.
There you go.
I got married on my birthday so I wouldn't forget the anniversary.
There you go. Well, I'm not going to forget your anniversary now either.
Was standing at the airport waiting for my wife to come down, and her brother was with her. And she said she had turned to him and says, "What would he look like?" And I had my dress greens on, and he pointed over to me and he said, "He'll look like that guy there." And they walked right past me.
So you weren't 245 pounds anymore.
I was 168 pounds.
Yeah, I think if we got some photos of you, and the photos are not a 245 pound guy. So
now and then.
Yeah.
But I hollered at her, and she turned and she looked at me and she stared for, I don't know, seemed like forever, but about maybe 10 seconds.
Right.
And wow, it was just, it was good.
So was boot camp, was it tough? Was it hard?
No, it was, Marine Corps boot camp back then was really hard, but as any boot camp goes, you're going to get, well, if you're an old Marine back in our time, each one is different.
Right.
I know that
they're supposed to be tough. I mean, that's what they're doing.
But they've changed over the years because of
society's changed.
I don't know for a fact. I know when we went through, we had crawling on our bellies and stuff. We had the live ammunition. Now they don't. It's taken away, and different things have. But still, the Marine Corps.
Was there ever a point where you thought maybe you couldn't do it, or did you just keep driving?
Gosh. Almost every day.
Yeah.
They literally break you down mentally and physically.
But when you come out at the end, you think you can do anything.
No one can stop you. Yeah. You're finally, after 9 weeks or what have you, you're finally called a Marine.
Yeah.
And you stand there, and even to this day, you stand there, strong and proud that you are a Marine.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Always.
So you came home
Semper
and
Fi.
you got to see your wife and stuff. And how long between boot camp you ship off to Vietnam, or did you go someplace? I know you said you went to Cherry Point.
Right.
Take your wife with you.
I was home on a 15-day leave, and then I had to report to Cherry Point, North Carolina, the Air Wing Division.
Take your wife down there with you? Or?
Not at first. Went down there, stayed about a month by myself on the camp, and started looking around to bring her down. And we found a little house I thought was right. Bare minimum, I was a PFC at the time. I mean, you just barely survived.
Right.
And brought her down, and we had a little baby by then, Kimberly, and brought her down. And short story, whenever we have dinner and someone has macaroni and cheese, that's literally that, and hot dogs is what we lived on back then.
Right. Well, yeah.
And so we laugh about it almost all the time. I was there for probably 4 months, and I got my orders for Vietnam.
For Vietnam. How'd your wife take it?
Oh, we were both young. We're going to a country that we don't know much about, and we're going over to fight and possibly kill people. That it's an experience that really turned my life around.
I think it's tougher on the spouses sometimes than it is on the guys going, or the gals going now.
I'll be honest with you. My wife has put up with me for 49 years. And if the shoe would have been on the other foot, I'd have been long gone. I really would have. It was just how she's done it. I really don't know, other than she keeps saying, "I love you."
So what'd you wind up doing in the service? What was your job?
Naturally, you're a grunt first and foremost. When I wasn't doing that, I was refueling Huey choppers. We had back then what they called portable gas stations. And what we would do, we'd go out wherever the Hueys were. We would dig a trench. It'd be 80 feet long and 40 feet wide. We put rubber bellies in there as well, what we call them. And fill them up, and then the Hueys would land, and you'd go from there.
Not much has changed. They do it the same way today.
Yeah, it was interesting over there because you did grow up very fast. At night, it went on 24/7 all the day, all the time.
So where'd you fly into? Where'd you fly out of?
Flew into Da Nang, and that's the last time I saw Da Nang.
Yeah, they just shipped you out to some.
Oh yeah, we was at Hoi An, Qua Viad. I'm trying to think real quick, and my mind's went blank. But we wherever they went, or the Hueys was needed, we would set up with them and be there along there with the grunts.
So how long were you over there?
I was over there a year.
A year?
And I think it was 14 months. I'm not sure.
Any significant events happen over there that think changed your life or anything like that?
You learn to live with the things. You eat out of the K rations, C rations, whatever they call them now. And you don't get into your home base that much. And when you do, it's just you're on guard duty or something, then you're back out again. You learn to live in situations that weren't the best. I mean, you'd wake up and you feel something on your leg, and it'd be rats. Seriously, you look around, you see a dog or a cat one day, and you don't see it the next day, and you wonder. The people over there were very, very different. I mean, we never knew anything like that. I mean, to see their living conditions and everything, and how they kept themselves. They always chewed this one root, and it blackened their teeth. And I can't recall the name of it. But it's just their lifestyle and the way they lived. You felt sorry for them. But over there, as we more or less called them, was farmers by day and fighters by night. You didn't know who was South Vietnamese or North Vietnamese. Tunnel rats, tunnels all over that. I hear that, when I was over there, it seemed like a nice country.
Right.
I hear it's absolutely gorgeous over there now.
Right.
I've been asked a few times would I go back to visit. No,
Yeah.
I
There's
don't.
no reason to.
I have no.
Sometimes it's hard to make amends with that. You know what I mean? So you're getting down. You're over there almost a year, and you're getting down to your last month or so. What's your
Yes.
mindset? What's your mindset then? Because I know when you go over there, you're probably just ready to run and do everything you can. But when it's time to come home, you kind of change a little bit.
Funny over there back then in the Marine Corps. You be called anything less, anything about 45 days or less. You will be called a short timer,
Right.
and you start marking the days off on the calendar. And of course, they're saying, "Well, hey, let's go out on night patrol. You only got 40 days or 30 or whatever left." And you're saying, "Wait a minute, I've made it this far,
Yeah.
keeping my head down and trying to survive and live."
Right.
And you say a prayer and you go out there and again, that's what was being a Marine. You go out there, you do the best you can with what you got. Anything above and beyond, hey, it's up to the good
So
Lord.
the last couple of weeks, did they ship you back to Da Nang or anything before you left out?
No,
or?
no. I went back to Da Nang the day I think the day before I left.
Really? So not a lot
And-
out process or anything?
Oh no, they flew me back to Cherry Point, North Carolina, and I was in a couple months down there. My orders came. Of course, when we landed back there, they wanted me to re-enlist. And the package they offered me was really horrendous back in that time. They had offered me $30,000, promotion to staff sergeant, choice of duty stations, and a 30-day leave.
Wow, that is pretty good.
That's
back
good.
then. Yeah.
One little catch.
Gotta go back to Vietnam.
You got to go back to Vietnam. And I had my wife and my daughter to think about. And hindsight, yes, you look back and say, gosh, I really wish I
It's easy
really
to say
wanted
now,
to
yeah,
stay.
yeah.
Deep down, I really wanted to stay.
Yeah.
But I had priorities
You got a life to
and
think about, yeah.
responsibilities. And
So when you're flying out and that plane leaves up, it's a big breath, isn't it?
no, not really, because you don't take a deep breath until you're out of that country, period.
Well, yeah, but I mean, once you're out of the zone, I mean, it's
You finally, from what I remember, I finally leaned the seat back or whatever I did, and I slept.
yeah,
It was a long awaited, needed sleep.
'cause
that
you never really
didn't
you probably
worry.
you probably don't get a lot of. I know from my experiences, you don't get a lot of solid sleep in those situations. Yeah,
You, I mean, you're being woke up all the time.
Right.
And
you're always aware.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're always on edge and everything. And we had if I may go back just a second, during the nighttime it was always different. We had a plane, and it was a C-130 called Spooky. I don't know if you heard of it or not. It was just filled with, I think, 50 caliber machine guns
Right.
and stuff. And they would call in airstrikes. Spooky, you never saw. It was all black. I mean, you never saw it. No lights on it or nothing. You could hear it,
Right.
but you couldn't. And then it would fill a football field
With
in
bullets,
what,
yeah.
5 seconds?
Yeah.
And every fifth one was a tracer. And it was just an amazing sight.
Would just light up. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Again, you grew up fast over there. You learned responsibility. You learned to respect your fellow soldiers and everything. We didn't, I don't know how to put that. Whoever you were in a foxhole with, that was your buddy.
It was your buddy.
He
Quick, you
covered
became
your back
friends,
and every.
Yeah.
If you ran out of water in your canteen, his was there.
yeah. His was there. Yeah.
No matter who it was, what.
Took care of each other.
Oh yeah, I mean, we grew up as brothers over there, and sorry to say, I wish I kept in touch with some of them.
Yeah.
You just don't want.
Well, it was harder back then too.
Yeah.
It's not like today where you got all this multimedia where you can reach out to people. So when you came home and you decided you were getting out, obviously you came back to Medina County then? Or?
Yes, I came back and just literally, honestly, I know it sounds corny, and you've seen it on TV movies, that you get out of that plane and you bow down and you kiss that ground and you just, thank God I'm back home.
Right.
And it's an amazing feeling when you do that. And stayed with my in-laws for about a month so I could get acclimated again
Right.
to
Being home.
yeah.
It takes a while.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Sometimes it takes a lifetime.
Back then, when we got off, and again, it'll say it in my speech. There was nothing for us,
Right.
basically,
Right.
and you had to go back to the private sector and do it on your own.
Right.
Back then, we didn't have a name for it.
Right.
More commonly today, PTSD,
Right.
post-traumatic stress. Again, my wife went through hell with me.
Right.
I honestly didn't know until a couple years or so ago that she got to know me that well. If she had come in and wake me up, the first time was, I jumped
knew
and
to do a little
I
care,
grabbed her
yeah,
neck
yeah,
and
yeah.
then, but after that she'd wake me up by shaking my feet or hollering at
Right.
me. She knew that I'd be getting in one of these moods or something, and she'd take the kids and say, "Let's go to the park or something."
Right.
Just let me. I never knew all that.
Yeah. You don't see it as well as they do.
No, and she knows me that well.
Yeah.
So
Well, so I know right now, I mean, we're doing this 50th commemoration of the Vietnam War here in Medina County. We're doing a whole
Yes.
bunch of events and stuff, and you are the newly elected president of the VVA here, Vietnam
Yes.
Veterans of America. I want to congratulate you on that.
thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't really prepared for it, but the past president, he wanted to move on,
Right.
and I must say, when I came back, up until about a year and a half, 2 years ago, my daily routine would be go to work, come home, go in this dark room, and sit there. You just didn't want to be disturbed or
Right.
bothered. And I was in this valley that I couldn't get out of.
Right.
And the Vietnam Veterans of America, Mike, Paul, and Jim Coolis, they kept bugging me to join, and I did. And boy, that just kind of really turned my life around. And I became very involved in it.
Good.
And that group and the Marine Corps League I belong to, there's people on there that says, "Hey, if you need us 24/7, we're there for you."
Right.
I'm with a group of people that we can talk about the Vietnam War or
Right.
Vietnam conflict,
Right.
where we can't do it. I mean, my wife don't even know probably a tenth of the stuff.
Right.
You just don't talk to them like that.
Well, it's
Just the way
not
it
something,
is.
not something you just casually break open with a conversation with somebody who doesn't understand what you're talking about.
Exactly. And again, those particular two guys, and there's all of the whole group. I mean, they're there for you.
Well, and I know they're very active. They've been spearheading along with the other organizations of the county this whole commemoration. I know on Vietnam Veterans Recognition Day, they renamed or co-named a road up in Medina to
Yes.
Vietnam Veterans Memorial Way.
That was a great honor for us,
Yeah.
and we thank the city of Medina for going along and allowing us to do that.
I think it's a great thing. I mean, the memorial
is.
is there and everything else. But you read a speech up there, and you talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, and I want you to pull that out and read it for our viewers at this point.
This was a speech that they asked me when they was going to rename the parkway and everything. Could I give a speech on what it's like to be a Vietnam veteran? And it's hard to put it in words, so I just kind of took it from my view and
Right.
my
It's your words.
yeah.
There you go.
That says, "Hi, I'm Rick Pethtel, Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. I'd like to take a moment and thank the Honorable Mayor Dennis Hanwell and all distinguished guests and especially all veterans for attending this very special ceremony. This is my story of being a Vietnam vet. As someone once said, time keeps moving on, no matter what happens to you. Or more commonly, time doesn't stand still for anybody. I have but a few moments to speak on the 50th anniversary of the Gulf of Tonkin conflict, as it was called back then, otherwise known as the Vietnam War. First, I must correct this and others, such as Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. They were not then and never have been declared wars. That being said, it was a time of awakening for our generation. We were young, naive, and thought we had the whole world in front of us. As we graduated from high school, we were technically adults. We had heard of this place called Vietnam, but didn't give much thought. Back then, we had the draft. We'd never be called up. But as things escalated in Southeast Asia, we were called upon by our country to help fight communism in another part of the world we hardly knew anything about. We had choices to make as adults. Some would get drafted. Others, such as myself, knew which branch of the service we wanted to go into. Still others decided to go to college and go on to business. And then there were the draft dodgers, or as we called them, un-American cowards back then, that gave up their United States citizenship, not to stand up and fight for their country, but to go to Canada. 987,000 servicemen and women were sent to Vietnam from 1965 through 75. The time from 1961 through 1965, it was called an advisory team. As of this date, there were 58,209 servicemen killed in Vietnam, 10,785 wounded, and in the beginning, 2,489 missing in action or prisoners of war. As of February of 2014, the missing in action was down to 1,643. To this date, the phrase, "leave no man behind," still stands tall and true. As some of you may know or heard, when we came back home, we were not greeted with welcome home parades, banners, or anything of that nature. We were told not to wear our uniforms through the airport, not to tell people where we were coming from or where we were at. We were called baby killers. We had eggs, tomatoes, and other things thrown or said to us. Just go back home. Go about your own private life. Back then, we didn't have counselors or therapists, know the meaning of post-traumatic stress syndrome or anything of that nature. We were sent on our way trying to cope and fit back into society. As the years passed, we became the forgotten veterans. I want to thank my wife for staying beside me, going on 49 years. I asked her one day why she and my 3 daughters have put up with me all these years. She simply said, "Because we love you." To close, as I look at the co-naming of this street, my hope is that the future of all veterans is to finish the job and the promise of a secure retirement for future generations. I was called upon by my country, and I stand proud that I served my country. Yes, it started 50 years ago and officially ended 40 years ago at 8:35 a.m. on April 30th, 1975. The last American troops, 10 U.S. Marines, leave the Saigon embassy. And by 11 a.m., the red and blue Viet Cong flag flies from the presidential palace. But for the Vietnam vets, it's a never-ending story. Something I want to tell all my Vietnam comrades that wasn't said to them on their return. Welcome home. God bless the United States of America.
You know, I think the ironic thing about that speech, it's tough to get through for you, I know. But I think you could take that speech and hand it to thousands of other men and women that served over there, and those words would be the same words that they would say.
I think so, yes. Again, proud to serve our country, proud to go and fight. One big difference, like you said, time marches on. And you hear some veterans say, we've been over in Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. We only get to call our wives on a video phone once a day. I mean, back then, we were lucky if we get letters once or twice.
Yeah, there is a lot of differences from war to war. I mean, the one thing that remains the same, though, is a 7.62 round.
Oh, my
gosh.
It's
a 7.62 round.
You got that right, yes.
I just want to tell our viewers about what we got coming up in June. On the weekend of June 24th, we have the Vietnam Veterans Moving Wall coming to Medina. It's going to be there the whole entire weekend. It is open 24/7 from Thursday to Sunday night. It'll be taken down Monday morning. We're going to have the history project that we unveiled here at the Eagles last month is going to be there in the Performing Arts Center at Medina. And we're hoping that everybody can come out and see. If you haven't seen the moving wall before, whether you're a Vietnam veteran or whether you're not a Vietnam veteran, whatever, it is a very moving experience and a very educational experience.
It is, I think, and I don't mean to interrupt, but it's hard for, I think, a Vietnam vet. I know it was hard for me to go to Washington and go to the wall. I got about halfway there, and it just...
I think it means a lot to different people. I mean, for someone that served there, it means one thing. For somebody, even for a kid today, I think it's important for them to look at it and realize that those names are people. And a lot of, even with the wars today, we see, a few guys or a few gals lose their lives, and more than should be, by no means. And when you go back and you look at Vietnam, and then if you go back in history and you look at World War II and the numbers from Iwo Jima and stuff like that, it's staggering. And I think it's hard for younger folks today to realize, well, a couple guys or a couple gals lost their life in Afghanistan. That's horrible. But when you think about that, hundreds of people lost their lives in a day. In past wars, it's hard to imagine in this day and age that could happen. But
we have the Vietnam Memorial there at the Veteran Service Office.
Right.
We do have all 33 names of the Vietnam veterans that were killed over in Vietnam there. It is a very humbling experience to go there and sit and think, really. It's just...
and that's what the history project is based on, those 33 guys. We created those panels for each one of them. And then coming in August 6th, down in Wadsworth, we have the final event for the Vietnam commemoration. It's going to be a welcome home and a passing of the torch. We're going to have the Eyes of Freedom there, which is beautiful paintings of the Marines that lost their life over in Fallujah. We're going to have the history project, and what we basically were trying to do is get the younger generation vets to welcome you guys home and kind of let you know that it's their turn and they got the responsibility of the country, which we know they've had for the last several years. Rick, I want to welcome you home.
Thank you so
thanks
very
for
much.
coming to the show. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You.
We'll see you next month on Salute to Service. Thank you.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. The pressure's too much. I quit. I get it. I can do better. Just please don't leave.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
You're watching The Bat.